Hi, welcome to yet another video from GB Training, Maths Level 1 and 2. We're going to continue with the volume and area that we were doing in the previous video because I want to cover circles. And circles, obviously, that are flat shaped, there's no volume to them, so you can't actually work out the volume of a circle. You can work out the volume of a sphere, which is a 3D circle, but that's a different thing altogether. And we don't need to do that. It's not in your exam, it's not in the curriculum for level 2, so we can leave that alone. But there is a way that they get around it in your exam, and that's by doing this. That's going to tell you that Tom, or Fred, or whatever, wants to make a circular pond in his garden. And it's going to have, oh, that's almost a circle. It's going to have a radius of 1 meter. It's going to have a depth of 2 meters. And hey presto, you've got the makings of a volume of a circle. That's how they get around it. So let's have a look. We need the area of the top first. And that's pi r squared, if you remember from the previous video. 3.14 for the sake of these videos, because that's what they're telling you to use in your exam, times radius, which is 1, squared. When you times it by itself, 1 is 1, so that's nice and easy. 3.14 times 1 is 3.14. So that's the area of the top. We have a depth of 2 meters. All we have to do, just like volume, when you're doing it, you're working out the area times the depth with the rectangle, just the same with the circle. We've worked out the area of the top, multiplied by the depth. Depth is 2 meters. So volume equals 3.14 meters times 2, which is 6.28 meters, and its volume, so you get the little 3. 6.28 meters cubed would be the volume of water that it needs to fill that pond. And that's how they get around volume of a circle. It's not volume of a circle, it's the area of the top times the depth. But the beauty of being able to do that is that you can now work out the volume of all of these types of shapes. You could work out a round cone, square cone, cylinder, just by working out the area of the top and multiplying by the depth of each one. So if your tin of baked beans tonight says it's a certain volume, you can work it out. See if they tell you the truth. Okay. There's a question that I've seen that this relates to. And if you give me a second, I'll go through it with you, because you never know, it might pop up in your exam again. I don't know whether Ofsted would call this cheating or not, but So we have a triangular cross section, like a tent if you like. And we had a height of that, which was 4 meters, I reckon, if I, no, that can't be right. 4 meters, 12 foot tall tent. Let's call it 2, be a bit more realistic. And it had a length 6 meters. They also gave you this measurement, and I think, if I remember rightly, that was about 6 meters as well. I could be wrong, but the measurements don't matter, it's how you work it out. This is a cross section. If you think about this, it's a shape like this, but laying down. So you would work out the area of the triangle, and times that by the length. So if that was turned upside down on its end, like this, you're finding the area of the top, multiplying by the depth. Just because it's the other way around doesn't mean it's a different way of working out. You work out the area of the front in this case, times by the length, and that's it. But we haven't covered how to work out the area of a triangle yet, so we'll do that now. So that's 8 meters, 4 meters, 10 meters, maybe. You don't actually need this measurement, so if it's going to confuse you, I'll get rid. And we'll just keep what we need. So, the area of a triangle equals half the base times the height. So in this case, the base is 8. The height is 4. In which case we've got half of 32, which will give you 16. We're in meters, it's area, so it's squared. So half the base times the height. Now, there are several ways of doing this. You can do it the way I've done it, work out the whole thing first and then just halve it. You can do as it actually says, half the base, which is 4, times 4 is 16, so that's okay. Or you can halve the height, 2 times 8 is 16. Doesn't matter, it's going to work out correct whichever way around you do it. But that's the correct mathematical formula which they like to see in your working out. Again, we don't do a volume of a pyramid, the volume of a triangle. We just do area, okay? And that's it. So with that shape that we had just, you'd work out the area of this, times it by the length. If you're wondering why we halve it, you won't have worked it out by now, but if you think about it, a right angled triangle is half a rectangle. So we're doing the same as we do with a rectangle, except we call it with a rectangle, it's length times width. For some reason, with a triangle, it's base times height. If you prefer to call it length and width, just to keep the same as rectangle, that's fine. Your working out should show that. But as you can see, it's half a rectangle, so that's why we halve it. You work it out the same way, and then half of that. The working out in these problems is important. You can get marks for your working out even if it's wrong. So, or wrong up to a point, that is. So you would have a little box and it says working or show working. Everything you do should be in that box. Everything. Even crossings out. Because sometimes with functional skills, the answer to one question may well depend on the answer to the previous question. And if you've got the previous question wrong, or the previous answer wrong, you've got no chance of getting the next question right. So they look at you working out and they say, well, actually, had he got that previous question right, this working out is perfect, he would have got this right as well. But because he got it wrong, he's got no chance of getting this right, but we'll award a mark or two, depending on the question. So your working out is very important. Don't just put the answer because you've got your calculator. Don't just put the answer, because then they'll think you're looking over somebody's shoulder and not bothering to work anything out. You're just copying somebody else. Show you're working all the time. Okay, that's the end of this one. That's fully covered now. Perimeter area and volume. We're going to move on, and I'll see you in the next one.